Greetings, students. It's time to read. Today's story is called Steve's Dream, and it's about a little boy who has trouble following directions. First, I'll read the story to you, and then you read on your own. Bee and Lila eat the meal. Neil and Dale eat the meal. Steve won't eat the meal. I eat meat and I eat fries, says Steve. I don't eat beets. These beets taste fine, says Lila. Try a beet. No, says Steve. I won't. I don't eat beets. Taste a beet, says Dale. No, says Steve. Steve, try the beets, says Mrs. Dean. Lila and Dale ate the beets. Taste the beets, Steve, says Mr. Dean. Bee and Neil ate the beets. No, says Steve. I won't taste the beets. I don't eat beets. He won't even taste the beets, says Mr. Dean. He may try the beets by and by, says Mrs. Dean. I say he won't, says Mr. Dean. He might, says Mrs. Dean. No, says Steve. I won't. I won't even taste the beets. I don't eat beets. I hate beets. We'll see the show. Steve won't eat the beets, so he won't see the show, says Mr. Dean. Won't see the show, says Mrs. Dean. Won't see the show, says Lila and Neil. No, says Mr. Dean. No, say Bee and Dale. He won't eat the beets, so he won't see the show, says Mr. Dean. I'll see the show, says Steve. I won't eat the beets. Bee, Lila, Neil, Dale, and Mr. Dean ride away. Where's Steve? He stays home. He won't see the show. Bee, Lila, Neil, Dale, and Mr. Dean wait beside the street. These five wait near the show. Where's Steve? He's home. Steve feels wild. I won't eat beets, he says. I won't even taste beets. I don't eat beets. I hate beets. I hate beets. Mrs. Dean sighs. She leaves. She's wise. Steve feels low. He ate no beets. He's alone. No Neil, no Bee, no Lila, no Dale, and no show. Steve feels tired. He lies beneath a sheet. Steve dreams. He sees the sea and high waves. He sees a stream flow near the sea. He sees a tree beside the stream. And beside the tree, he sees a beet, a mean, tree-sized beet. He hears the beet say, "Hee hee hee." Steve sees the beet hold Mr. and Mrs. Dean. The beet ties the Deans beneath the tree. The beet lights a fire. The fire blazes. The flames rise. I need a meal, says the mean beet. I'll heat the deans and I'll eat a feast. Mr. Dean sees the steam rise. Save my wife, he says. Mrs. Dean feels the heat. Save Mr. Dean, she says. Both Mr. and Mrs. Dean see the flames rise. Both feel frightened. I'm here, says Steve. He feels brave and bold. I'll beat the mean old beet, he says. Don't fight, Steve, says Mr. Dean. Hide, Steve, says Mrs. Dean. Fight, fight, says the mean beet. I won't be beaten. The beet holds Steve by the ears. The beet holds Steve by the toes. The beet bites Steve near the heel. Steve finds a way and he fights free. Steve finds the beet's right leaf. He holds the beet's right leaf and he throws the beet. The beet flies between the tree and the stream. The beet lies beside the stream. My bold Steve, says Mrs. Dean. He's my Steve, says Mr. Dean. Steve smiles. He won't be beaten by the mean beet. The beet leans beside the tree. Steve aims a blow near the beet's right toe. The beet flees to the sea and hides beneath the seaweed. We're safe, says Mr. Dean. Steve's a hero, says Mrs. Dean. Steve frees the Deans. The three leave. Steve rises. The beet's a dream. He's alone. No Bee, no Lila, no Neil, no Dale, and no show. I'll hate the beets, says Steve. I'll eat the beets. Steve hears feet. He hears Lila say, "We've seen the show." He hears Neil say, "Where's Steve?" "He's by the table," says Mrs. Dean. "I'm here," says Steve. He feels shy. The five see Steve eat the beets. "Real beets?" says Mr. Dean. "My Steve eats beets?" "I don't mind," says Steve. "These beets taste fine." Great job, boys and girls. And now, it's your turn to read the story. Great job, boys and girls. See you next time.